Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the case of Debbie Remorozo. And I am just going to say straight off the bat, I am so sorry if I have mispronounced the surname or if I mispronounce any names in this case. It is a Philippine name and yeah, I'm rubbish with pronunciations. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So I apologise in advance. I don't mean to cause any offence with how rubbish I am, but there's not any videos on this or anything like that. But anyway, let's get into it. She was murdered in 2002 and her case is still unsolved. So 20 years now. This case was suggested by Jane, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have, and of course if you have any more, please do let me know. This case, strangely enough, happened around the area that I grew up in and where I've previously worked and things, and so I don't know, it just really is quite close to me in that sense. And obviously for her family's sake, for her friend's sake, for everyone, that this horrific thing that happened to her, whoever it involved, I want to try and spread awareness and get her name out there. And maybe, you know, maybe a breakthrough will come through. Maybe a case will finally be solved one day. So that's the hope anyway. Debbie Remorozo was 26 years old when her life was taken away. She would have been born probably around 1976-ish, and as I've said, she was originally from the Philippines and she decided to move to the UK. Her family did stay behind in the Philippines though, and her mother was called Alicia. She was a teacher. Her father was called Dionisio. Again, apologies, probably said that completely wrong. He was a rice farmer. And of course, her parents thought that she would be completely safe in the United Kingdom. And sadly, 2 years later, this horrific thing happened. So Debbie went on to work as a coronary care nurse in the Royal Oldham Hospital. She'd only been there for 2 years before this horrific thing happened to her. But in that time, you know, she was such a dedicated hard worker. People said that she was very honourable. She was just such a lovely woman. And she was a real hard worker. She was working on the ward C2 at the time and would often do shifts, like really long shifts, and sometimes work up to 14 hours per day. Her job would also allow her to send money back to her family at home in the Philippines. So that's what she did. She would work really, really hard, really long hours, try and get as much money as she possibly could and send some of it back to her family. Now, she was actually part of, I don't know if it was a program or just something that a few people decided to do, but however the NHS sent it out, I have no idea. There was like an instance where 30 Filipino men, women, I don't know if it was just women or both, but they went over to help the NHS out and to work as nurses for them because there was massively short-staffed. So they came over, and this is part of the thing that she was like Debbie was involved in. Now, it was said that she led quite a conservative life. She worked really hard. She did go to church. She was a devout Catholic, and apart from that, apart from her friends in work, you know, she was very like reserved and stuck to a routine. Like, she'd go out, she'd work, she'd feed herself, she'd pray, and then she'd sleep. That was pretty much, you know, her routine of what she did. Those around her absolutely adored her, said she was a humble and gentle soul. So she moved there in 2000, and now we're going to skip to the 7th of December in 2002, and Debbie starts her shift at 7 AM like normal. She goes in there and she's supposed to finish at 3, which normally Debbie wouldn't normally finish at 3 because from what I can find, she would often stay over late. You know, it didn't matter to her getting off on time. Like some people, it really does. So she would often stay sometimes till like 3:30 to finish off her notes and things like that, and it wouldn't bother her at all. And this was one of those cases. I believe she actually left like work or started leaving work just before 3:30. And then she was spotted on a CCTV camera heading towards her like home at 3:37 PM. She was in a nurse's uniform and she had this orange like bobble hat on, and she was heading in the direction of where her home would be. Less than half an hour later, she was caught again on CCTV. This was at where her flat was. It was Somervale House in the Werneth district of Oldham. This particular block of flats were protected by quite a lot of cameras, from what it seems like, and she let herself in using her own key into her 7th-story flat. And then that was the last that was ever seen of Debbie. On the morning of the 8th of December, Debbie was supposed to go into her shift like normal, and she didn't turn up. And that obviously sent red flags straight away, because it wasn't like her. She was so hardworking, she was so dedicated, and so she wouldn't just turn up to a shift without letting anybody know that she was ill and couldn't possibly come in or something like that. And it was fully out of character for her. So everyone got worried, and rightly so. Now her friends did decide to go around to her flat and see whether she was okay. So they had, I don't know whether they knew where a spare key was or they had a spare key, but they ended up letting themselves in at 5:40 p.m. and they are met with the most gruesome scene. One of her friends, Mrs. Villacampa, said that they saw her lying on the floor. There was lots of blood on her clothes, that she felt for her pulse, realised that there was none, and then got straight out of there and called for an ambulance. So she was actually found lying in the crucifix position with a cloth over her face. She had been stabbed multiple times in her chest and neck area, and some of those had gone that deep that they actually penetrated some vital organs. It was thought to be from 2 knives, and those 2 knives were from her own kitchen. So whoever did this didn't bring a murder weapon with them. They used whatever was around them. So obviously the police came and they began their investigation. They looked around. There was no obvious sign of forced entry, which leads you to believe that she must have known the person that had killed her and obviously just let them in. And it was said that she was very self-conscious and self-aware of security, and she would have never ever left her door unlocked or anything like that. So, you're basing this off the fact that because of those traits are well known of Debbie, she must have known them, surely. So they believe that afternoon on the 7th of December, she let her attacker in, and then at some point they pounced on her with this unprovoked and savage attack. Honestly, but they posed her body too. I don't know whether that's a symbolism for something. Whether, say there was an argument that had ensued, and this is the possible theory that the police actually do believe, that maybe there was a massive row and then it turned out into obviously somebody killing her. But if that was the case, would you then pose the body after? Put it in a crucifix position and put the tablecloth over her face, unless it means something, and if she was like a Catholic, I don't know. Please do let me know if you do know that means something in the comments, because I have no idea. Staging a body more makes me think that they went there with the intent to murder. I don't know. Well, it's not necessarily the case, but you know what I mean? That was their intention all along, not the cause of heated argument and then that's where it ended up. Because surely you'd just do the deed and then get out of there, right? I don't know. They did manage to get some DNA from the flat. Now, I don't know. I did read something of a person of interest of a woman. I am not entirely sure as to whether this DNA was from a woman or a man. I do know that however this woman was tied in, they didn't have enough evidence to charge her. And so whether that was her DNA or not, I'm not entirely sure. But they did have a DNA profile from somebody who had been in a flat. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the killer, I guess, because it could have been a friend that popped around. You never know. But with that in mind, they thought that they would catch someone pretty quickly because they had potentially the killer's DNA. But they didn't catch anybody and still haven't. It was said that Debbie had a few people interested in her, romantically. But that because she had quite old style beliefs of courting and things like that, that maybe, I don't know, maybe that was the cause of something like this, because she had a set way that she wanted to do things, that was what she believed in, that was how she always wanted to do it, and they didn't understand that, and maybe they got angry over that, I don't know. They have never found a motive for this cruel killing. They never found any evidence of any sexual assaults or anything like that on her. And again, they're just thinking more along the lines that maybe it was an argument that went wrong. Maybe somebody had upset Debbie in her past and they were coming back to get revenge on her then. It is thought to be somebody that knew routine and quite knew them inside out kind of thing. So maybe someone very close to them. But like I said, that fits in with Debbie letting them in anyway. They had, on the first anniversary of Debbie's death, they had, all the friends and things had a mass for her where they just remembered her and they really tried to just get more awareness around a case, because at that point the police still had nothing. They'd interviewed 1,500 people. They had a £10,000 reward on offer for anybody with information to come forward. They had officers travelling over to the Philippines to question people and things like that, and they just did everything that at the time they could. They distributed leaflets everywhere, but there was just nothing on this case. And over the years, there's been numerous awards, numerous appeals to the public. They really do believe that somebody in the Oldham area knows what happened to Debbie, and somebody must come forward and reveal that information one day. I know that in 2003 they arrested a man and a woman in regards to Debbie's case, but they were both released without charge. Then in 2006, the police went to this Filipina festival that was done yearly, and they handed out leaflets and things again, and that didn't really do anything for the case, sadly. In 2016, her brother spoke to the news again. I read the article where it said that his name was Dennis. He was in the Philippines still, and he said that the police have not contacted them with regards to Debbie's case. At that point, it had been like 14 years since they last had contact from Manchester police. But obviously, I'm not speculating on that. That's just what I read in an article, and that is just what he claims. I have no idea. And do they really keep updating families on a case when there's nothing new to update them? I have no idea on that one. Probably not, right? I don't know. But I really just hope that spreading the awareness of this case can maybe spark a memory or something, and somebody can come forward with some information to maybe one day solve her case. It is so important. It could be the tiniest little thing that you don't even think matters. Well, it might matter. So please come forward. Please spread her name around, because Debbie and her family and her friends, everyone involved in this case really does want to find out what happened to her, and she deserves justice. Whoever did this to her should be in jail, serving the time for what they did. They took away her life. She was 26 and she was so young, prime of her life, and she was just ripped away. And for what? Who even knows? There's no motive even been established in it, and it's just really frustrating. But yeah, that is the end of this case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Debbie Remorozo. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.